Today marks 9 years since my wife and I went on our very first date. 9 years ago in downtown Toronto. My wife and I first had our first interaction over the phone. We had a phone call, and it was, to this day, probably the best phone call I've ever had of my life. I knew there was something special there. It's very difficult to explain, but a few days later, we actually had our first date in person. I'm more of an introvert, as you might already know if you've seen the rest of my content. Social interaction I can find kind of draining. It's not that I don't like having conversations and getting to know people, but at the end of the day, my energy tends to dip pretty rapidly when I engage in that kind of activity. So anyways, after a long day of work, we met up for coffee. Our coffee turned into having dinner together. And after having dinner together, we decided to take a walk. And we ended up at a subway station in a food court. And we just sat on some stairs and we spoke until around 11:30 p.m. So that was all a really good signs for me. And that was very telling for me that things felt right. And obviously they had to feel right, because fast forward 9 years later, and here we are, married with twins on the way. And yeah, it's amazing. We have a lot to be grateful for, and we're excited about what the future holds for us. Now, I know that being parents, especially early on, there won't be much time for anything else. But I want to keep in mind that it's going to be a season of our life, and that things will improve. There'll be less sleepless nights. There'll be more pockets of time to do things. But I'm concerned about losing my creative outlet. I don't want to stop it completely. I want to be able to document our experiences as new parents, parents of twins. And sure, there'll be a time and place to be able to make more thoughtful pieces where I have usually a story that I want to tell or a message that I want to convey. But sometimes I just want to show up and record my thoughts and explain where I'm at, what I'm dealing with, maybe spread some positivity and share about my experiences along the way. So in order to be able to keep doing that, I need to practice not overthinking the process of creating content. Typically, I don't just take my camera here and just put it on a shelf and just get to talking. I usually have my lights set up. I usually got my camera on a tripod, and I take some time into setting up my shot and doing the best job possible. Now, I want to change my approach because it's just not feasible. My wife and I are expecting twins in a few months. And the reality is that if I think my life is busy right now with a full-time job and just normal chores, then I'm in for a real shock when the twins get here, because I'm going to have even less time for myself, even less time to invest into being creative and making content. So this is me doing the best that I can to break the ice. It's just a camera on a shelf with my mic, and away I go. So this is going to be hopefully the first of many other videos that I make where I don't overcomplicate things, because I really need to practice going with the flow, simplifying the process wherever I can. And that applies not just to creating content, but also as I become a parent and get into the habit of not overthinking everything, which is something that I'm kind of notorious for, and just kind of going with the flow and making things easier and not creating barriers where there doesn't really need to be any barriers. The barrier is me. So I just want to kind of change myself in that sense. I want to improve, I want to get better, and I want to just improve myself across the board. And it starts with not overthinking things, going with the flow, and seeing where it lands me. So I think that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope that I'll be able to make many more like this more frequently. So we'll see how it goes. Take care.